don't be too shy. Approach everyone. One of the big things that when people come to these conferences, they get overwhelmed. And I totally understand it. So they want to like stand in the corner and don't talk to them. But you came here to network. You came here to meet people. So definitely say hello to everyone. Have some way for people to contact you. Most people go, well, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I don't have any, but you do.
Welcome to Travel Matters, the official podcast of TBEX. Here are your hosts, the radio vagabond, Palabo, and TBEX CEO, Rick Calvert.
Welcome to another episode of Travel Matters. And Rick, it's nice to see you on a screen again, even though I feel like it's just a few hours ago I said goodbye to you in Spain.
Yeah, it's been a couple of days, but it was only a month and a half in between when we saw each other in Tri-Cities versus 3+ years. So I like it much better seeing you more frequently.
Okay, I thought you were going to say I like it much better seeing you on a screen.
In person is always better, Pallet.
Yeah,
in person
it is
always better, but on screen is good too.
Yeah. Well, how was the flight back? Because I know that a lot of flights got delayed and all of that. How was yours?
The flight back was easy. I had no issues. The biggest thing was, I flew back Friday. I flew back on Friday, and, we have this testing requirement to get back into the United States. Mm-hmm. So it was actually my first COVID test of the entire pandemic.
Really?
I haven't been sick. I haven't gone anywhere or any place that required me to do one. That was my first test.
Okay.
And the way they do it, for us, is you have to download an app that connects you by video to someone who's going to watch you. You don't get to see them, but they get to see you take the test. And you can't open the box until you start the video. And then you open the box. You have to show them a QR code on the box so they can verify the test number on the box. Then you have to show them the actual test itself that's in the box, that those two things match, and you have to show them the straw that you stick in your nose, and then you have to show them, all the pieces that go to it.
Mm-hmm. Were they guiding you as well, saying a little bit further up the nose?
No, they didn't tell me to put it further up the nose, but they did, give you specific instructions. You stick this thing up your nose, and then you stick it inside this little piece of cardboard. Again, it was my first time. Maybe everybody else knows this already. And you got to turn it around 3 times in each nostril. Mm-hmm. And then you stick it in this little piece of cardboard, and it waits 15 minutes. And so they basically put you on hold for 15 minutes, and there's a timer. And then they come back, and they tell you if you're negative or positive. So anyway, I go through all that. I'm negative. Great. And then they send you a document that says you're negative, and it's some kind of certified thing. And every airline in the U.S. has a different testing partner, or some of them may overlap, but they're not all the same. So if you fly United versus Delta versus, American, it could be a different test you have to take. So before you go, you got to make sure you get the right test. And by the way, there are tests that are the same brand, like the one I took was called Binax Now. There's a Binax Now test you can get at the drugstore that doesn't work for travel. Mm-hmm. And then there is the one that does work for travel. And they look almost exactly the same. So you got to make sure you get the right one.
Yeah.
Or you get stranded, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, you get that. You do the whole thing. So now when I go to the airport, I show them that. When I'm checking in, they check a box. I'm okay. Then when I got to Paris, which was my first connecting leg, they didn't want to see that piece of paper, but they wanted me to sign another piece of paper that said I was negative. Just I'm swearing that I'm negative. Mm-hmm. And so everybody on the plane had to get in this line, and then you got to show that paper to the guy with your passport, and then you have to hand that paper to another lady before you get on the plane. It was not very well organized at all.
It seems like it would be just easier to show them the test result instead of signing that I swear.
That's what I thought. I had it in my hand. I'm like, here it goes. There's my test result.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, you got to sign this piece of paper.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see that.
Yeah, it's like what we talked to with Michael Collins about a month ago when all the different types of tests and the way they do things, it's kind of like making it up as they go along.
And he's been tested 100 times or more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because you've traveled a lot, right? And different countries have different requirements.
Oh, totally.
But anyway, when I finally get home, I think the U.S. is the only country that makes its own citizens test to get back in the country, or at least the only one left. So anyway, I get home, and the moment I land in Salt Lake, there's the news. On Sunday, the test requirement goes away. So everybody else, if I would have just stayed in Spain a couple more days, I could have still never had a COVID test. But, So everybody else who came home didn't have to take the test.
But then again, that's good news for all the people that wants to go to Lafayette.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely. Anybody from Europe won't have to take the test in case things change.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're still fighting. The American administration is still fighting to get the mask requirement on planes reinstated. And that was a requirement flying into Spain, all public transportation. And you'll remember from the closing party, they made us all put on a mask when we got on the bus.
Yeah.
And I think you're supposed to wear them in a cab too, but none of the cab drivers made me put it on. But I noticed all the cab drivers had a mask. Mm-hmm. Most of them weren't wearing it, but it was like on their chin. And some of them were wearing it. But when we boarded the plane, my flight from Amsterdam to Malaga, we all had to put a mask on when we got on the plane. Not in the airport, on either side, just on the plane.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just say the general point is travel is not back to normal. It is not. Maybe it's normal for you now because you've been doing it for 3 years. But for those of us who took a break from traveling because, number one, it was really hard to do. Number two, sometimes it was not allowed to do. Number three, the social pressure of you're a bad person if you travel. All of those reasons we didn't travel for a while. And now we're traveling again, and it's not the same. Flights are getting canceled. Different countries have all sorts of different protocols. It's just not as easy as it was before. And it's not going to be as easy as it was before for a while. And it's way more expensive than it was before. Flights cost much, much, much more. Hotels cost much more. And I don't blame them because they had a couple of years of making no money. So now that everything's in super demand, and you saw in Marbella, it was busy. It was very busy. People want to travel. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, that's the reason. I think we spent a couple minutes talking about the COVID thing, is just so people know if you haven't gone anywhere yet or you're getting ready to go, there's more challenges than there were before.
Yeah, be prepared. Be prepared for a bit of a wait and things change. And
to spend extra time in security lines and some other thing they may make you do before they let you get on a plane.
Exactly. Anyway, at TBEX Europe in Marbella, we again recorded a bunch of interesting conversation that we're going to bring you over the next couple of weeks. And in this one, that was recorded on the very first day and shortly after the whole thing kicked off.
That's true.
We had Kerwin McKenzie do the first-timer session where he did a lot of... he gave out so many good advices for the first-timers.
Yeah, as Kerwin is a great ambassador for TBEX and for the travel creator community. He's always smiling. He's got that great positive energy.
And he's got 17 stars on his badge.
He's been to a lot of TBEX events. So, yes, he had lots of advice for first-timers on how to get the most out of the event. And even people who may have been before, but just wanted to see if there are any tips and tricks to use the SEO language of why you need to go see something, secrets that'll help you get the most out of TBEX. But also we talked to Kerwin a little bit about Black Travel Alliance.
Exactly.
And a couple other interesting things.
But first, we actually speak to a first-timer, Leo Long from China, who actually lives in Malaga, and it was his first TBEX.
Yeah, it was interesting talking to Leo, who does a luxury travel magazine in China for Chinese travelers going to Europe and other places in the world. And he's based in Malaga. This was his first TBEX, and it was interesting to hear his impressions.
Rick, I noticed that on this TBEX there are a lot of first-timers. I don't know if there are more first-timers than normal.
About the same, I think, percentage-wise. We got a good number of first-timers.
Yeah.
And we're going to be talking to Kerwin, our friend Kerwin, who did the first-timer session this morning. But we have a first-timer here.
We do.
That you talked about on the podcast.
Yeah,
the last episode that we did.
Yeah, one of the last episodes because Leo, you're from China, but you live in Malaga.
Hello.
Hello, and we did a pre-bex tour and two pre-bex tours. So we got to know each other there. Yeah. And you're a first timer, and we're in the first day of the real conference. What's your impression of a conference like this?
Yeah, this is my first time in TBEX. I'm very glad to be here. This morning I was a little bit late, but I catch the opening keynotes. It was really impressive. I see those speakers. They talk about branding, how to improve your brand, how to focus on your niche. I learned a lot. Definitely it's very useful for my publication in the future.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about the publication. You write for a Chinese magazine?
Yeah, our name is Luxury Tourism. We are a travel magazine. We are based in Macau, China. We also have an office in New York. We focus on the luxury travel niche. We talk about the destination, especially the luxury travel product like the hotel, cruise line, beach, tour activity, etc. Yeah, to attract the Chinese traveler to visit the destination.
Yeah.
We have collaborated with many destinations. For example, the Costa del Sol Tourism Board and the Lucia Spanish Tourism Board as well.
Yeah, and that's something we spoke about when we were talking about it. Normally, you would see a lot of Chinese tourists. There more and more and more. But not so much right now. But there's a reason for that.
Yeah, now China is still closing the border. It takes a time for the country to open. Hopefully next summer the country will open the border, so Chinese traveler will come out of the country and will travel around the world as before.
So Leo, you have a luxury travel magazine, but obviously you have an online presence as well. Does your magazine do a lot with social media?
We have all the social media platform in Chinese, and we also have an Instagram and Facebook page.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So it's a big part of obviously your promoting the magazine through the social media.
Yeah, and nowadays the social media marketing is very important. We cannot miss these parts to get our traffic.
Thank you so much, and it's so good to see you here.
Yeah, thank you for coming the first time. We had to bring the conference to Malaga for you. Hopefully you'll come see us next time in either Louisiana or in Phuket.
Okay, thank you for having me. Hope to see you next time.
Thank you, Leo. And so, Pale, we've had a first-timer here. Mm-hmm. Now we're going to talk to the master of ceremonies, the trainer of all first-timers.
Exactly. You've done this before, more than once.
A few times.
Yeah, a few times. And you're one of those people with many, many stars on your badges, which means you've been to so many TBEXs. Yeah. And you weren't in Washington, but now you're back here. So I'm glad to see you again, Kerwin.
Yeah, thank you.
You're a good friend of the family, and it's always good.
Yeah, no, it's good. I love TBEX. I couldn't make Washington. I had to go to the Caribbean.
Did you? I'm curious, Kerwin. Did you travel much during the pandemic?
I traveled once in the middle of July, 2020, and then I didn't travel again until about a year later, when I started doing road trips around Texas. And then
so you changed the way you traveled?
Oh, I completely changed the way I travel. Yeah. So Texas has a list of I don't know, maybe 40 or almost 50 cities that have the same name as European cities. And so, like there's Dublin, there's Paris.
Yeah, I was going to say Paris, Texas.
Yeah, that's the most famous one. But there's like Edinburgh spelled slightly differently. There's Rome, but it's Roma. There's also Milan. And these are really tiny towns with 400, sometimes up to 1,000, 10,000, depending how big the city is. And they're all over Texas. So I did a road trip to see those places. And then in November, I went to Dubai for an air show, kind of get my feet wet. And in January, I started traveling to the Caribbean and did a whole bunch
I just
of
can't
cities.
get over the fact that Texas is so big, it has 40 European cities in it.
You know, that should be my headline, right?
Yeah. And we were actually, I think, in Dubai more or less the same time. I came late November, and I did the expo as well, and that was also a little bit of traveling around the world. And beautiful expo.
The expo was good. They did a really good job. It's very well organized. And they're actually going to keep the facilities, some of them. It's going to be like I think they still have the concert thing. Will still be there. And some of the buildings are going to be offices. And the place behind, which is where all the people they brought from all over the world to live and work during the show, that's going to be like a community. Because it's a fully encompassed community. There's
it was a
everything
town,
there.
and they even made a metro station just for that.
Yeah.
So that's Dubai for you. But I found it super
good.
interesting as well.
Yeah.
So, Kerwin, for people who don't know, what's your site, passwriter.com, about?
So passwriter.com is a site I developed back in, I think it was 1996, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Early days.
Early days, pre-everything. Actually, it might have been, I registered it in 1992.
Wow.
So it was in the early...
I didn't know that was
early
possible.
days.
You and Al Gore
Yeah.
invented the internet.
And well, hold on, let me see again. Let me back up. 1996, I did cruisingaltitude.com, and in 2002, I did Passwriter. And so Cruising Altitude was the first site that kind of just talk about aviation and just give people general
For those that don't know,
information.
Kerwin is an airplane aviation geek.
Total aviation geek. And then Passwriter is dedicated to airline employees. So as airline employees, we travel a lot different than everybody else. It's all space available, which means that if there's no seat available on the plane, we don't get on. But there's a hierarchy based on who you work for and how long you work there, and actually what you do for the airline. It makes a difference. And so I developed that in 2002 and just started to put content. And when I left the airline industry in 2010, it became a business. And I'm still doing it today.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the first-timers thing, because when we had to have Tamiko and Tim do the session, they did a good job, by the way. I'm just kidding. We spoke to Tamiko after, and I asked her the same question that I'm going to ask you. If you could take 3 best tips for first-timers. You gave a lot of tips at the session, but if you could take the 3 most important ones, what would that be?
Oh, that's a tough one, huh?
Thank you.
Yeah.
We should have prepared him for that question, Polly.
No, I like to put him on the spot.
I know, right? I would say don't be too shy. Approach everyone. One of the big things that when people come to these conferences, they get overwhelmed. And I totally understand it. So they want to like stand in the corner and don't talk to them. But you came here to network. You came here to meet people. So definitely say hello to everyone. Have some way for people to contact you. Most people go, well, I don't know what I want to do. I don't have any, but you do. You can. It's very easy to get an email address now, or just some social media. Maybe you can make a LinkedIn profile that just has information about you, what you do, what you're looking for, and who you want to be in touch with. So at least you have something to give someone to look at. The other thing is, some people have no idea what they want to do per se. I met some folks here, like they're a photographer, but they don't know what they want to do with the photography side of things. So I guess in terms of that is kind of have some idea. Well, know your skills and know what you bring to the table is probably what comes out of that. Because most people, like everybody here is very gifted. Like some people say, I'm just a photographer. I'm like, what do you mean you're just a photographer? You're a photographer. Yeah, there's no just a photographer thing. So that's the kind of stuff. Just be confident, know what you're about, make sure you have some people to contact you, and just go meet everyone.
Yeah.
And say hello to everyone.
And I come from a radio background, and I remember when I was super young, I started going to international conferences.
Uh-huh.
But for me, that was to learn stuff. And I remember I was maybe 23 years old, and there was an old guy from British radio. He came to me, and a Norwegian guy who was also young, and he said, come to as many of these events as you can, because the networking, and that was before people even used the word networking the way they do today. The networking is so important. And I remember thinking, hey, I do my own stuff. I work on a local regional radio station in Denmark. Why would it be important for me to know about somebody from Turkish radio or something? But I just, oh my God, he was so right. And it's the same when I morphed into the content creator industry. It's so important. And I have 7 stars on my badge, and it's wonderful to come and reconnect with people and also get to know new people. And one thing I've thought about, when people are standing around talking, like in a room like this, they're typically in an open circle, and it's okay to just stand in the area. And if they are the way they normally are, they open the circle and introduce you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I try to encourage people to do as well, because you see it all the time. And when I used to go to conferences, I had that thing where you see people talking and they're in a closed circle, and it's that you can't get in. But I encourage people to do that. And here at TBEX, you don't even have to ask. You just come up and people just open the circle for you. Mm-hmm. And I don't see that at a lot of other conferences. And so, like just now, this lady was where I was talking to this other guy, and it was just 2 of us, but we were pretty close to each other. Mm-hmm. And she just came up and we opened up. Yeah. And let her in, and then we had a great conversation.
And it's even if you're an introvert, it's something that can be taught. When I was young, I was super introvert. I don't know if that surprises you, because I'm not that anymore. But going to receptions and networking things, I hated that. I'd much rather be in my office working out some kind of strategic thing behind my computer, and I hated that, but now I enjoy it. And so it's something I taught myself. So don't be scared if you're an introvert, right?
No, don't. And even like, so it may sound strange, but there's a small part of me that's an introvert, because I can just be like, I want to be by myself. I don't want to talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I'm out there, I'm outgoing, I love people. I love to listen to people. That's the other thing, too, when you come to these conferences, to listen. Because you can learn a lot just by listening. And then you also find that you find people who have the same problem you have. Like, you're like, well, I want to do something on TikTok. And you find that there's either somebody who knows or somebody who has the same problem. And together, you guys can make it work.
Yeah, and this community are so willing to share.
Yes. And I found that with the share, I just went to the TikTok session, and the young lady there, I think her name is Elisa.
Yeah.
Elish. Yeah. Amazing.
It was so good.
Yeah, she's so good. She's so, she's just natural and real. And it came across in her presentation, and she had like questions all over. And then the funny thing was, people in the audience were answering some of the questions, which is good, and that ends up happening a lot.
Yeah, and she learned something as well. And said, I didn't know that. That's
Kerwin,
completely new thing.
Tell me something that you learned in that TikTok session. We're putting Kerwin on the spot today.
That's
I know,
good.
right?
Are you on TikTok?
So I am on TikTok.
Oh wow!
My phone, I'm having phone issues, and so I've been off of TikTok for since February, because I'm having phone issues. So while she was talking, I fixed it, and I got all the TikTok stuff set up. But one of the things that she did was, she does listicles on TikTok. And you don't think you can do listicles, but it's how she does have all the photos and the music that goes in it with it. So she's inspired me to go try TikTok again. And I will. I mean,
What's your handle on TikTok?
It's Loyalty Travels, which is the same on Instagram.
Yeah, cool. So now we have to ask Rick, are you on TikTok, Rick?
I am on TikTok. TBEX is on TikTok.
Okay.
But I mean you.
Not personally. I will not personally be on TikTok.
Okay. But TBEX is on TikTok
is on TikTok. And actually, TJ, who is Donna's daughter, who works for us in operations, has for a long time. And TJ used to come work for us as a helper in operations when she was off from school in college.
Oh, nice.
Now has 20,000 TikTok followers. And
that's amazing.
she told her mom, hey, I can help you guys with your TBEX TikTok channel. So TJ's taken over our TikTok channel during the conference. And so, yes, you're seeing us actively posting right now. We did a session in Washington, and we did another session here this event, and it will definitely be a part of our event going forward. I'm sure you're going to see more and more sessions on TikTok, whole new generation of creators on TikTok. You know, something I noticed from the Washington event, and I had seen it anecdotally, but not firsthand until Washington, is how much content is being created on LinkedIn now. And Kerwin, I know you're a big proponent of LinkedIn, and it's a great networking platform for business, absolutely. But it has become a content platform, intentionally so on their part, and creators are finding that it's an untapped market. There's a lot of opportunity on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's very true. And well, the thing with LinkedIn too is that they also have a creator fund, which all of them have now. Instagram has one, TikTok has one, and the creator fund is just a way to quote unquote pay back the creators from the earnings that they're making, because all of them have advertising or something like that. And LinkedIn, the thing with LinkedIn though, they had something called LinkedIn Live, but they only gave it to the quote unquote big people. And I think that's why it hasn't really caught on. You know, whereas TikTok, anybody can use it. Instagram, anyone can use it. When LinkedIn come up with these things, they only go to like specific people, and it takes forever to go to the audience.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do blog posts, you can do videos on LinkedIn, and I pretty much think they're going to come up with something like what everybody else have.
You know, they have a bit of a challenge at LinkedIn because it is such a great networking platform for B2B. You know, it's a great place to hire people. It's a great place to find jobs.
Exactly.
It's a great place to find connections if you're trying to sell something to somebody. It's a great place to find connections if you're looking for a supplier for a specific thing. So that's been their niche. So I think LinkedIn is very cautious about content. There is a place for it, but they don't want to become, you know, they don't want LinkedIn spam, right? Like you get Twitter spam or Facebook spam. So I think they're very, very cautious of that, and rightly so. And I think it's really smart on their side to continue to be that B2B platform that's trusted. And I'm sure you guys get these messages all the time. I do. Random people message you, hey, are you interested in this advertising on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, I get them all the time.
Yes. So they've got to be very careful that doesn't become overwhelming or it'll lose its appeal.
Yeah, and they're still growing. If they weren't growing, they'd probably shut down, but they're still growing.
Absolutely.
I guess whatever they're doing is working. It's just that whenever they have new functionality, I'd like to use it. I'm like, seriously? Yeah, so it's not too bad.
Well, Kerwin, we really, really glad to see you again after such a long time. Normally, it's only 6 months in between when we get to see each other.
Right.
So we really missed you. I've missed you.
Thank you.
You're such a ray of sunshine. Not only at TBEX, but everywhere you go. People always say, "Oh, Kerwin is so nice," and you just make people feel welcome wherever you go. Every fam trip you've ever been on at TBEX, people have said, oh, wow, we're so glad Kerwin was on this trip. He was so fun, and he just made the group fun, and everybody was happy.
Good.
So
we were actually in Antigua together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
that's right. Yeah.
So you saw the Kerwin magic.
I saw the magic, yeah.
So thank you for joining us, Kerwin, and it's really good to have you back, and looking forward to seeing you at the next one already.
Yeah, it should be good. One thing I want to say before I go, though, is I actually want to thank TBEX, because when I started out, TBEX was the first organization that said yes. When I pitched to talk
to you as a speaker.
Yes. TBEX was the first organization, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad that we said yes, because you're awesome. Let's talk about one more thing. Sorry, we were going to go. I just thought of something else that you've been involved in the founding of the Black Travel Alliance.
Yes.
Which TBEX has partnered with from the beginning. We've been supportive of the idea of the BTA, and Martinique and you and Tomiko and Xavier, what you've all created, and I know there's a bunch of other people involved that I don't know yet. What is the Black Travel Alliance? What's your mission?
So we have see how to say it now.
Putting Kerwin on the spot again.
I know, right?
Makes 3 times.
Well, we buttered him up.
I know, right?
And then we hit him with another tough question.
The idea behind it is, in the travel industry, it's very unfortunate, but black content creators do not get the same opportunities as other creators. It's kind of silly, but that's how it is. Don't know why, so we're trying to change that. When we had the death of George Floyd, a lot of people were posting black squares, and they were like, it's almost like saying thoughts and prayers when somebody gets killed in the U.S. And so we're like, okay, fine, if you're putting up black squares, why don't you put, quote unquote, your money where your mouth is and support the black creators that are out there? And so we gave a challenge to the travel industry to do that. Sadly enough, not many people did, but some did. And so we kind of took that and ran with it. And what we want to do is provide opportunities for black content creators. So, for example, coming to a conference like this, it's very expensive. And if black content creators aren't getting opportunities, then they can't afford to come. So what we're trying to do with the help of Rick at TBEX is to give them a ticket and say, hey, here's a ticket, you can come. Eventually what we want to do is give them scholarships. So we'll get some kind of brand sponsor who will pay for the entire trip for that person. Because our membership are really, really smart and qualified people. Most, if not everyone, have some form of advanced degrees. We even know people who are doctors. So it's not like people are stupid, right? They know, but the industry doesn't see us. If you look at a lot of the organizations out there, when they have fam trips, there are no black people on them. And when you I don't like calling out things, the ladies like to, but when you look at it and you're like, well, I don't get it. Like, for example, a famous organization in the UK, they launched and they had no minorities on their team. And you're in the United Kingdom. Also went to another big publication in the UK, and we looked at their board, because we're in their office, and they have like maybe 2 minorities in London. So something is wrong with the industry when you don't see because how I look at things is very different from you guys look at it, because my background is different. And so if you want my dollars, then you need to have people who look like me. Because now it's like, people like me are actually, the funny thing is we went from one extreme to the next, right? Because if you watch TV in the US now, you'll see that they have a lot of black people on TV. That was not the case before, right? So the industry, the world is changing slowly, and the Black Travel Alliance, we're here to help them move along, kind of push them if they need to.
Well, it's an interesting thing, and I know you and I have talked about this offline before. Multicultural marketing has been a thing in the world for decades.
Yes.
I worked for the multicultural marketing conference. The white guy working for the multicultural marketing conference.
Yeah, but see, Rick, we need you.
Yeah,
because people will listen to you.
yeah. But it's just interesting to me. I don't think it's intentional, but I think it has been a blind spot in the travel industry, not just for creators, but for marketing to people of color, and more specifically to black people.
Yes.
And it's just a fact. I absolutely believe in diversity and inclusion, and that we should all come together at this event. And you can see there's young people here, there's older people here.
This is a very diverse group.
There's people of every color,
diverse,
and that's intentionally that's purposely, intentionally done.
Thank you.
Because we all do have things in common. But there's no doubt that Tomiko's audience doesn't cross over with Palais' audience. You know, if you look at those concentric circles, they're very small. Or Martinique's audience.
Yeah.
And so for travel brands to reach that audience, which I think your latest statistics like $129 billion in the U.S.
Yes, it is.
Those are black travelers in the United States. That's how much money they spend. And I use the example of a group that's absolutely successful. They're phenomenally successful is IGLTA, another longtime partner with TBEX. You open any travel magazine and you will see specific LGBTQ marketing. Any travel magazine.
But they see the money finally.
But you don't see it for black travelers. And so how do they get that content? Hire black creators.
Right.
And now you can appeal to that market.
Yeah.
So it's such an obvious need in the industry. So we really applaud you guys, what you're doing, what your goals are. And it's definitely been needed in this industry for a really long time. And, you know, it's not just in creators. The hole's not just in creators. It's in the entire travel industry.
It is an industry, yeah.
And it's interesting that bloggers are the ones, once again, to kind of innovate the travel industry. Yeah. So good for you guys.
That's good. Well, thank you. Because one of the things, too, is that when you look at a brochure, and even like the famous hotels in the Caribbean, they still have pictures of black people serving white people on the beach.
Right.
I'm like, it's 2022.
Right.
Why is that still a thing? People are still going to, don't get me started on that.
Well, anyway, okay.
But
so
they're getting
the
there.
people who live on the island are black. That's fine. A lot of the people who visit are white. That's fine too.
Right.
But there are a lot of black people who visit there too and spend a
Exactly,
lot of
Rick.
money.
Yep.
And they should have just a few pictures of those people too.
They should, and it's also how it's staged,
Yes.
and how it looks, and they just don't understand how it looks, and also too, a lot of people in the Caribbean, they don't like me to represent their brand,
Right.
which is stupid.
Yeah.
Because all my friends, white and black, go, "Oh, you're from Jamaica? I want to go to Jamaica with you."
Right. Yeah, you're a perfect ambassador
Because they
for
know
them.
that I give them a different perspective.
Right.
But so we're working on it. It's in Jamaica we say it's coming to come, which means it's slowly
There's
happening.
a lot of work to do, but it's great that the work has begun. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure, and thank you for being an ally. We appreciate it.
One more thing.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm just kidding.
We could go on forever, right?
Thank you so much.
All right, Polly. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Kerwin.
So that was Leo Long and Kerwin McKenzie. And actually, Rick, I don't think they're brothers, but next week we have another McKenzie.
Brothers from another mother.
Yeah, it's spelled a little bit different, but Alistair, he's also somebody who's been to TBEX all the time.
Alistair has been to TBEX a few times. He has moderated 2 keynote discussions, including in Marbella. And his interview with John Minahan at TBEX in Dublin was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we got to talk to Alistair a little bit about what he's been up to and what he was talking about during his keynote and a few other things.
Yeah, that's coming up next week. And then we also have an extra guest next week. It's Fuse, your brand new TBEX volunteer.
Our first ever TBEX volunteer. Fuse did an amazing job for us. She sent us an email like a week before the show, or no, well, a little bit longer than that, asking if we needed any help. And she's a photographer, and do we need volunteers? And it just turned out that Rex, our videographer, who had done his first TBEX in Tri-Cities, had said having an assistant would be a big help to him. So we said, okay. And, don't really know what to expect with volunteers. You know, half of them don't show up or do anything because they're not getting paid. So, you know, you can't really expect people to do a lot or demand that they do everything. Fuse went above and beyond. She was a rock star. So we thought it was appropriate to have her on the podcast and talk to her a little bit about what she does. And turns out Fuse is pretty good at TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. I actually earlier, just a few hours ago, I was watching a lot of her TikTok, and I almost fell into a little bit of a wormhole just watching one after the other, as you do with TikTok. But she's got some great stuff on her TikTok. And actually, I also went and looked at Kerwin's TikTok that we spoke about in the conversation with him, and he also gives out so many travel advices. And then he numbers them, so it's just him in front of a camera, and I think one was travel advice number 80. So a lot of stuff is out there, and obviously we link to Kerwin's TikTok and his Instagram also in the show notes of this episode. So yeah, that's it for this one. Unless you have any last words, as you normally do, Rick.
One more thing. We're good. We'll see you all on the next episode.
We'll see you next week right here on Travel Matters.
Thank you, Pally.
Bye.
See more about upcoming TBEX events on tbexcon.com. You can follow Palabo on theradiovagabond.com. This episode of Travel Matters was hosted by TBEX CEO Rick Calvert and Radio Vagabond Palabo, and produced by radioguru.co.uk.